Hey kids, long time no see. Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. I'm Brad. We're back. It's been about a little over a week. I was doing a lot. I doing recording every day. If you haven't checked those out, it was great. It was a ton of fun. I really stretched myself. I did like 38 days or something like that, doing a podcast a day. Ton of fun. But we are back. We're jumping back into this, and this season we're gonna be, or this year 2020. We're recording on December 31st, so we're gonna just jump right into some Red Wings news. Actually, we'll be covering all NHL news. We got Preds and Avs did a trade. Avs did a signing. Taves of the Chicago Blackhawks. Remember how he used to be with them? It had an interview. Stars got fined. There's a huge PWHL trade. Pens wave a guy. Crosby does something, and Obi does something as well. So, also, if you're watching on YouTube, going over it, there's my sign in the background. Just got it. Costco. Go grab it. It's like $10. It was sick. Anyways, we're talking about Red Wings. Red Wings did a lot of things. They did a lot of big numbers of things. So, goodness gracious, I sound like a former president. And so we're going to go into the Red Wings. So they did fire a coach. They fired two coaches. Actually, they fired Erik Karlsson and brought in Todd McLellan as the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings. They also fired Bob Boughner as the assistant coach. He ran the penalty kill and did a really good job with the San Jose and last year as well with the penalty kills. Just this year was not clicking the same way. And so we saw that both him and Erik Karlsson were both let go. And Eisman did say in his presser that that Bob Boughner was not let go because of his performance in the penalty kill. It was more that Todd McLellan wanted to bring in his guy, Trent Yawney, who has worked a ton with together. I think they've had like over 10 seasons together. And his basically his right-hand man, which I can see, but also I'm kind of like, you also were producing Bob Boughner. So, which is fine. Like I said, they needed to do a change. They made two huge changes. And the one thing I really liked about the bringing in Todd McLellan is that he has shown a lot of strength. He's a kind of a tough coach. You've already seen some of his press conferences that he's already talking a little more straight. He's like, hey, I don't know these guys well enough yet. I need to learn them more. I'm going to try everything. He's going to shuffle the boards a lot. One thing I really like right now is trying Joe Veleno on the top line because to me, and you see this within the fan base, is Joe Veleno is kind of like, everyone's like, what do you do, Joe Veleno? And I think he has a lot more higher potential than people are giving off. He was a former first round pick. You can see he has puck handling skills. You can see how he's fast. You can see he's hard on the puck and everything. And he can be that kind of grinder guy on the top line with Raymond and Larkin. And which I really like, because you don't want Larkin to go in those areas because, captain, he's a point producer right now. So Joe Veleno, you can move up to a top line spot. You can kind of, the nice thing with Joe Veleno is you can actually move him around anywhere in the lineup. You can play him on wing, you can play him on center, you can play him on the fourth line, third line, second line, first line. We saw that last year. I think it was maybe in this year when Larkin was out. Maybe it wasn't this year. Definitely last year though, when Larkin was out, they put Joe Veleno on the top line center. He is keepable. He has enough skill there. He was given exceptional status, similar like John Tavares, Connor McDavid, and Connor Bedard. So you could see how there was the elite talent. Mind you, there was a reason that he did drop to 31st in the draft, in which right we got that pick from the Vegas Golden Knights in the Tomas Tatar trade. And so it's working out well, and you've gotten a role player who's looked really good. He's being paid like $2.2 million a year for this year and next year, so he's still a useful player. And I definitely don't think he's getting utilized the way he should be being utilized. And I think he has a better role to play. Problem is he hasn't produced enough there, and he's not playing enough on the penalty kill, or he's not getting any opportunity on the power play. So you're seeing him a little on the penalty kill. I think he has a good opportunity to do that, though. I think he has a lot of speed. I think he can be reutilized. And that's the nice thing with these shakeups with a new coach is that you're able to get a different perspective. You get a guy that comes in, he says, I don't know anything about you guys. I have a general idea, but I don't have any idea. And so you're seeing him play, shuffling the lines up, right? You're seeing Tarasenko on the third line, which I think is better because Tarasenko is just not the same guy that he was before. So you kind of let's shake the lines up. The one thing I don't really care for right now, and I saw this last game with, I think it was against Toronto or it was Washington, in which, by the way, they lost to Toronto. Mind you, they fired him on the 26th. They fired Lalonde on the 26th, hired Todd McLellan on the 26th, and then played again on the 27th against the Toronto Maple Leafs, lost 5-2. But again, it's your first one, right? It's your first. And Toronto Maple Leafs are very good. I think Toronto Maple Leafs are still top in the division, actually, for the Atlanta. Yeah, they're still top of the division, tied with the Florida Panthers, who have the exact same record. They both have 23 wins, 13 losses, and 2 overtime losses. That's crazy. And so that's honestly, and they're both in their last 10, they're both 6-4, and they both have a 12 goal differential. Goodness gracious, that is crazy. That's nuts. Anyways, but against Toronto, it's a very good team, right? So you have a team that, like, again, is on fire. And so again, you're trying to sort everything out. And so it didn't work out well. But now you have then the next night, it was they had it was 2 nights later, they had the Capitals. As they versus Capitals are coming off a back-to-back with Toronto Maple Leafs. And so Capitals end up winning that. The Red Wings end up winning the game 4-2. And mind you, again, the Capitals are first in the division. They're actually first in the Eastern Conference, leading with 52 points. They're second in the league. But mind you, they're coming off a back-to-back. So it's 4-2 win. You're super happy about that win. It was good to see Todd McLellan get his first win as their head coach. And so what I expect to see, and honestly, when I was talking about this before, I think the Red Wings still, it's a rebuild year. But I think you can't tear the whole thing down, because there's still guys in here you don't want to ruin their development. You don't want to ruin development of Casper, Edmonds especially. Those two, because those guys are the most impacted by development right now because they're so young. But you also don't want to ruin Raymond, who's not much older, and you don't want to ruin Seider either. So the fact that these guys are bringing in a guy who can perform and help pull more out of these guys is going to be huge. Mind you, recording this again December 31st, New Year's Eve, baby, woohoo, celebration, and the Red Wings are playing in about an hour and a half. So we'll see how this ends up panning out. But again, to me, I didn't see this as I could see the new coach, but to me, there's definitely a lot of frustration, and there's things that we don't see as much as the fan base, right? So when we heard their interviews from Larkin and why this was necessary, Larkin was talking about how this is a scalding one. He said it'll be nice to be coached by someone who has coaching experience, which, mind you, Larkin has had Blashill, and who's been his coach for first 7 years of his career. And he got Lalone, who were both first-time head coaches. And the Red Wings were like, okay, we're not going with the first-time head coach again. So they decided to go with Todd McLellan, which to me I thought was a interesting decision, because he does have a winning record. He has a winning percentage. I don't have it pulled up, of course, but he has a winning percentage as a coach, right? He has actually NHL experience as well. He played in the NHL. He played for the Islanders. And so he's seen it. He's seen it done. He's a ton of experience. I think he's 29th year as a coach or something like that. He's got a ton of experience. And so when you're looking at stuff like this, it's important to 29th year in the NHL, I believe. I think that's how they phrased it. But again, you're seeing a guy who's been around the block, who's coached good teams. He's coached good players. He coached Connor McDavid, right? He's coached the San Jose Sharks back when they were good. The LA Kings, right? You've seen some high level talent in Kopitar. You've seen Doughty. You've seen young talent, as in what's his face, Quentin Byfield. And so you're getting a guy who can kind of pull more things out of it. And again, that's just the head coach and just changing the culture and just changing the room. And there's one great thing. And we passed the 5-minute mark because YouTube hates when I swear. He goes to at practice. This is after the Toronto loss, right? The next day at practice, he goes, play fucking hockey. Where the thing is so huge. And it's one of those simple messages. It's like, guys, and he goes like, dude, you guys have been doing this your whole life. Like, just play hockey. And the one thing I thought was really interesting that they talked about, I think it was Max Bolton. He mentioned that McLellan said that the Red Wings are playing very mechanical hockey. It was, okay, guys coming down, and this is on I saw this on the power play. You saw guys just pass on the power play. No one trying to take that shot. No one trying to create that opportunity. Even trying to get the puck on net just to create some roughage in front of the net. And you're seeing that. You were seeing, they're like, dude, you had one power. You passed so many times. You had so much possession. You got one shot on the power play. I'm like, dude, what are you guys doing? And so with that, I guess with Mac, again, going back to what Max Bolton said, is that he said that what McLellan saw was that guys were coming, the puck was coming down, defenseman was coming down, and he was closing in on the guy. And basically what happens is as you're closing on a guy and he's coming across, you change who takes the player, right? So you're going around the net and the defenseman follows, but as he goes behind the net, the player with the puck is what that guy with the puck is then passed off to the other defenseman, right? So if it's coming down the left side defenseman comes down, follows the guy, and then now he goes behind the net. The right side defenseman should be taking over, right? That's the right proper thing to do. But like if you're on the guy, like take the guy, like continue to follow him, continue to put pressure. Because now as that left side defenseman comes off, that gives them less pressure, gives them more time to do stuff, can pass the puck, move it, and then now you're frantic because now you don't have control of the situation. And so it was more important that they kind of got to the back. It's crazy to get back to basics. And one thing I thought was really cool with the practice that we saw is that everyone's on the ice in like the neutral zone area, right? Where they hold two blue lines, and everyone just has a puck and everyone's just skating, and they're trying to control the puck, trying not to run into each other. And it's just like, yeah, like that's just good hockey. It's good going back to basics hockey and like having a little more fun, which I think was huge to the Red Wings. The Red Wings traded out a lot of personality, and one thing that when I heard another podcast talk about is that there's roles on a team. There's guys that talk about you need the strong stoic type, the guys that when they don't speak often, but when they do speak, people listen. You need the fun guys, you need the personality guys, you need the guys that stand up and talk, the leadership and everything. And Red Wings lost a lot of that. They lose a points producer in Shane Gostisbehere on the blue line. They lose a fun guy on the blue line with Jake Wellman with the trade. They let Dave Perron go, who was definitely a leader in the locker room, right? And you bring in, and mind you, you bring in, or you have replacements for those guys in the system, right? So you're thinking like, okay, a Perron, well, that's now going to be a Tarasenko, right? Your veteran guy that's bringing in, right? You had your Daniel Sprong at the start of the season. You let him go. Well, Berggren wants to take that position, right? You have a Wallman who now you have a Wallman, so that's supposed to be Edvinson's spot, and Edvinson does a great job. Right, Shane Gostisbehere, who's that point producer? Well, no one really, right? No one saying it was supposed to be Gustafsson, who has looked terrible offensively and defensively. I've been very, very disappointed in that sign. And so you're trying to find better spots for these guys, and it's frustrating because the UFA signs are not working, and you're like, dude, we need to. Why aren't they working? So you're seeing like. Kopp looks a little bit better than last year. He's still not looking great, but looks better. Hall looks better than last year. Still, he's not producing like he should be, right? Comfer looks worse than last year. Petrie looks worse than last year. Gustafsson is not performing like he should be. Larkin's underperforming. Raymond and Seider probably the only two that are actually performing to where they should be or better. And Edmondson, I'd say. Kasper's not struggling. Kasper's not producing as well as we thought he would. He's producing a point every 4 games, so I think he's at like 7 and 28. He's not producing a ton, but it's his first full year in the league, right? So you're not expecting him to produce like crazy, but again, you want to see a little bit more out of him. So if we're looking at Kasper right now, so 7 points in 31 games, again, playing 14 minutes a night. So again, that's third nine minutes right now, and that's okay. As long as he continues to develop well, right? Now we are seeing DeBrincat put up 15 goals, 27 points in 36 games. Raymond's a point per game. That's definitely an improvement. Larkin to get like I said, Larkin 28 points, 36 games, buddy. You should be a point per game, and you're playing over 20 minutes a night. You need to be doing better than that. And I'm hoping that Larkin is now can squeeze a little more production out, or Todd McLellan can squeeze a little more offense out of Larkin. Now, mind you, the Red Wings are going to play at like 104-point pace for the rest of the season just to even sniff the playoffs, right? And my expectation for the Wings is not for them to make the playoffs. I think that would be nice. I think it's a hard battle to get back there, but I think this is more. And mind you, I didn't think this should have happened. I don't think they should have brought in a new coach. Because you usually just bring an interim, because in the summer you get better options, right? We talked about this before. There's not a lot of coaches left right now that are like, if they're high quality coaches, they would have been hired in the off season. And so we saw Jim Montgomery get fired from Boston, immediately hired in St. Louis, and that's what happens. You get guys that just a good coach gets snatched up, right? And so you're looking at Gerard Gallant. Todd McLellan, let's be honest, he got fired last year from the LA Kings and didn't have a job this summer, and now signs with the Red Wings. Okay, why wasn't he signed? Was there not a desire? Was it not the right fit? Like, what are you looking at? I mean, coaches get fired. Like it's like at least 10 coaches a year get fired. It's a crazy amount of turnaround. I think last year it was something wild, but you're like, okay, what are you like? What's going to happen? And so what happened? Why wasn't he signed? And so when you see a coach get a multi-year extension in the middle of the season, that's interesting, right? Even Chicago right now is running an interim coach, right? Boston is also running Joe Sacco. Joe Sacco. He was an assistant, became head coach, and he is still on an interim tag right now because they're unsure yet. He hasn't produced yet. So as the head coach mantra, right? So bringing in a Todd McLellan, and mind you, Steve talked about this in the press conferences. They've been staying in touch for a long time because Yzerman was actually coached by Todd McLellan when he was playing. In his last year, Todd McLellan played, or last year that Steve Yzerman played, Todd McLellan was an assistant coach on the team. So he's familiar with the Red Wings system. And they've been staying in touch since Yzerman was with Tampa Bay as well. So there's definitely they've wanted to collaborate at some point. But again, it's just, it's an odd, like, you don't bring in like, if he was good enough if he's good enough now to give him a multi-year deal, why wasn't he good enough to bring in the offseason on a multi-year deal? And mind you, the Red Wings, since the ownership of the Red Wings, the Ilitches have only fired a coach in season twice. So of their whole history, twice. Mind you, they had some really good years. They also had some really bad years. So it's interesting, like, because now Ilitches, like, they have to pay Derek Lalonde for the rest of the year. He was on an expiring contract. They do have to pay him for the rest of the year. And now they have to pay Todd McLellan multiple years, right? So, and again, these companies are not in the business of wasting money. And we've seen that with Chris Ilitch. There's been some stinginess in what he's willing to do. If you're in the Detroit area, which my wife and I are, I especially am frustrated with some of the expectations of the building of Little Caesars Arena and some of the building districts around here. We just saw Chris Ilitch just doesn't want to put the time or the money into the area for a Little Caesars Arena to be developed, which is one of the reasons I believe that the New York Islanders, with their new arena in the area that it's developed, is getting an all-star game, and the Red Wings are not. The Red Wings have one of the best stadiums in the league right now. It's one of the newest. It's one of the most up to date. Everyone talks about how awesome the arena is and everything, but I don't think the surrounding sites are ready for, like I said, an all-star game. The traffic that's going to bring in there's just not enough space there, or there's the space there, but it's not well developed enough. So I'm skeptical on what Chris Ilitch's direction that he wants to take the Red Wings in. And I trust Yzerman. I don't trust that his leadership above him will let him do the things that he needs to do to be successful. There was a rumor talked about with Steven Stamkos, and that Yzerman wanted to offer Stamkos a 3-year deal at $8 million per year. And Nashville comes in and says, hey, we're going to offer you 4 years at $8 million a year. And supposedly Yzerman tries talking to Ilitch about this and says, hey, I need to know, I want to bring this guy in, but I got to add an extra year. Is that you good with that? And supposedly the rumor has it that when Yzerman asked that request went unanswered, meaning he didn't answer it. Stamkos is like, hey, I got to go. They're offering this contract. So that's how he ends up signing in Nashville. Now, would the circumstances would have worked out better? Would he have produced better in Detroit than Nashville? Maybe, but maybe you bring in a Stamkos and you don't sign a Tarasenko, right? Maybe that's your left winger. And right, mind you, Tarasenko's not producing that great either, though. Tarasenko's got currently 13 points in 35 games. I mean, what is Stamkos? Because to me, I would rather have a Stamkos, a leader in the locker room. Mind you, there's been Stamkos to Detroit rumors before when he signed his deal before. Stamkos 22 points, 37 games, so he's producing almost double of what Tarasenko is. And I would have rather had Stamkos, a leader of two Stanley Cup championships, right? And so Tarasenko's won 2 Stanley Cups. That's great. He was a role player last year on Florida. He was a pretty essential person on the St. Louis Blues. But to me, I would have preferred a Stamkos, a guy who can also play center as well, right? So that's why you pay a little extra. You pay for the leadership, the former captainship. I mean, he may have been that new David Perron, right? That guy who can kind of inspire a little bit more because he's had to before. And so I so directionally, again, I'm kind of like, hey, when it comes to the Red Wings, I still think it's a rebuild. I still think they're rebuild, and I think Todd McLellan will be great. And they've done it, right? They've fired the coach already. They brought in a new one. They're gonna and Yzerman says, I want to be in a wild card spot. My expectation is it's supposed to be a wild card spot. He said this team is not ready to win a cup. It's not built to win a cup, but it is absolutely able to contend for a wild card spot, which I think again is the goal. That is the goal of this year, is to contend for that wild card spot. So we will see what happens with that. And yeah, I'm interested, man. Let's see what happens. So we're gonna jump to a quick break. We're doing live readings today because I have not pre-recorded these. So we're gonna go to live readings. So we'll jump into this next section, and then we'll jump into some other Red Wings news, as well as I have a trade proposal, and maybe we'll jump into some NHL news. There's a lot of NHL news, so I may just record a second video for that one instead. So yeah, let's stay tuned. Let me know what your thoughts are on this next part. Comment below, hit like, hit subscribe. Appreciate it. It helps out small creators like me. You're lovely. Let's jump into this ad break. So, and where's my ad? Oh, there it is. There's my overlay. DraftKings. Okay, so we're gonna jump into DraftKings now. So, it's a wonderful time of the year for getting in on all the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and basketball, and pro hockey too, almost 24/7. And here's a gift for all new customers to bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. We're just talking about the Red Wings here. Like, are they a Stanley Cup contender? What are the odds? Like, why don't you go check them out, and maybe you can bet on the Red Wings winning the Stanley Cup. If you don't think let's go, that's your pick. Maybe you want to do the Florida Panthers or the Edmonton Oilers, two teams who went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. So definitely get your bets in and make sure that you use DraftKings for sure to bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers. Get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-787-7777 or visit cpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball. And moving on to this next part, we'll take this off the screen now. And so we're going to the Red Wings news. And we talked about Joe Vladimir on top line. I think that's awesome. We also had a signing, though. We had Ondrej Becher was signed to the team. He signed his ELC. And so with that, you're looking at a guy who was drafted in the second round. I believe it was 2024. We'll pull it up real quick. I'm going to Puckpedia, by the way. If you don't use Puckpedia, it's a phenomenal site talking about contracts and everything. Yeah, it's a third round pick. Ondrej Becher was drafted in the third round. Third round, 80th overall, and he was playing with I believe it was the Prince George Cougars in the WHL. Last year had 96 points in 58 games, which is crazy amount of production. 32 goals, 64 assists. I mean, that's phenomenal. And he got a couple PIMs as well. Love to see that. And then he was on an amateur. He signed an amateur tryout with the Grand Rapids Griffins. I believe it's 20 games you can do with an amateur tryout with the AHL. So this year he's only played 19 games with the Griffins, put up 3 points in 19 games, but they must have seen enough from him because he's been playing center. He's been playing a lot of fourth line center because, again, he's a new kid, right? This kid's only 20. He's 20 years old, so he's a late draft. And so they signed him to his ELC, his entry-level contract. So we will see how it ends up working out. Again, he's third round pick. We'll take a flyer on him. Why not, right? I don't mind this at all. It's good. Like I said, I don't mind this at all. So actually, when it comes to the Detroit, it's interesting that they sign a third round pick from 2024, but I also think about it, I'm like, okay, who's the second round pick? Oh yeah, the second round pick that they got was Max Plant, who's playing the World Juniors, who is 18 years old. So he's got time to develop and everything. Again, where Ondrej Becher is 20 years old and a little more developed, right? So you want to see this guy start. You want to see what you got in this guy because, mind you, he's going to be on his ELC this year, next year and the year after, right? So he's not going to be he'll still be an RFA at age 23 in 2027. So you get this guy that you need to sign because you also don't want to lose his rights either. So I'm happy with this guy. Again, the way he's produced in the WHL again is as an overager, but still played well out of Czechia, I believe it was. Where's he out of? Where are you born, bud? Yep, Czechia. So 2004 birthday. Crazy, dude. Anyways, so that's a good little signing. He was reassigned back to GR again because he's on his entry-level contract, so he can do that. So we like to see that as well. Also, there's a huge shock of Buffalo and Detroit actually scouting each other right now. So you're seeing that with the Red Wings is that the Red Wings are at the Buffalo Sabres games, and you also see that the Buffalo Sabres had a scouting was at a Red Wings game when they were there. And so there's definitely some smoke there. Supposedly, currently, there's a couple people that people are calling on. People are calling on Owen Power for Buffalo Sabres, who they had a 13 game losing streak. They currently have currently 3-6-1 in their last 10. They are on a 3-game winning streak, but those 3 wins just came very recently. So, but they're still 3-6-1. They're letting a ton of goals in. They are putting a decent amount of goals in, but they have a losing record at home and away, and are currently tied with the Red Wings in the last position in the Eastern Conference. But Buffalo has played one more game than the Red Wings, which is why they are actually last in the Eastern Conference. So with that, a lot of people are calling. There's a lot of rumors. There's no I think firm right now, but supposedly Dylan Couzens is on the trading block right now for them, and going to where Dylan Couzens, he's definitely has struggled these past. Oh, did they win again? They win 3 or 4. They only won 3. My bad. Dylan Couzens has definitely been struggling this year. 19 points in 37 games for a guy who put up, I believe it was 68 points one year. Let me pull that up real quick. But he's actually projected to have 42 points this year. Not looking too good right now. If we go to his career, where's you at? Go into his career. In the 22-23 season, he had 68 points in 81 games. So 31 goals. That's phenomenal. But again, last year, putting up about a half point per game. And this year, even doing worse than that. So definitely a kid that's struggling, but he's only 23 years old, drafted in 2019, which is it was drafted 1 pick after Moritz Seider as 7th overall. So this is a guy that you can definitely, he's on a great contract as well. I think it's a $7 million year, $7 million over 7 years. So this is a guy that you can absolutely still use because he's very useful. I'm pulling up right now just to see Dylan Couzens. Because to me, 7.1, and he signed till 2030, so he's got plenty of time on this contract. It's a new contract, or a relatively new contract. So when you're looking at a guy like him, you're like, okay, he's 23 now. You kind of see where he was. He was at 68 points. Could he hit that again? Maybe, right? But he's probably going to fall like closer to like a 60 point per season. So you're looking at a guy that Dylan Couzens is, and then you're looking at a guy who, like in the Red Wings prospect pool, like who can be Dylan Couzens? Well, Nate Danielson could be a Dylan Couzens type, right? And if we're looking at, I can pull up Danielson. Actually, we'll pull up his contract as well and see how he's doing. But Nate Danielson, who was drafted not this past summer but the summer before, can absolutely be him. He signed his ELC as well, and this is a guy who can absolutely be that number 1 or that number 2 center. And if you bring in Dylan Couzens, he's absolutely your number 2 center right there. You move Kopp and Coffer down. But if you trade for him right now, you don't have the cap space to be able to do it. And mind you, so we're looking at he's currently Danielson has 19 points in 30 games, so he's doing well down in the AHL. He's 20 years old, so he's 3 years younger than Couzens. So you're like, okay, how good do you want to be good now? Is that the goal? Like, is trying to expedite, because I even talked about this. He wants to expedite the rebuild in the most safe and responsible ways. So you're looking at Nate Danielson, who won't be ready for the NHL until next year, right? Whereas you can bring in a guy like Dylan Couzens now, and you can suddenly you're immediately better, right? Mind you, but you're not going to just that may be the piece that is it a Danielson for Couzens. You probably have to with Danielson, you'll probably have to throw it a pick as well. But Buffalo is also not looking to get worse, so they probably want to take someone off the roster currently. And you're like, okay, who's on the roster that currently that they may want? Well, they might want a Marco Kasper because that's another high center, right? That was drafted from the Red Wings. Pull out Marco Kasper now. He's 20 years old. Again, another 20-year-old, currently playing more like third, fourth line center right now. And he is someone that could be, and he's probably not going to have the higher ceiling than Couzens. But to me, he's probably like a 50, 55 point guy. He's a great third line center because he plays rough and he plays tough, more like a Michael Rasmussen type. And again, he can play center. He can sub in as second line center. But again, if you're looking at the long term with the Red Wings prospects, you're probably going to have more like a Dylan Larkin at 1C. 2C will be Nate Danielson. 3C would be Marco Kasper, which brings up a good dynamicism, right? You get two more high skill guys in Nate Danielson and Dylan Larkin, and then you have Nate Danielson is 6'2" as well. So how big is Dylan Couzens? They pull him up. Where are you at, Couzens? Couzens. He's not. I don't want to pull him up. That's why. But like you're looking at a guy. Dylan Couzens is 6'3", 194. Nate Danielson is 187, 6'2". So they're similar size. Couzens is a little bit bigger, but again, are you wanting to spend? Is it worth the price to get Couzens now and you have him under a good contract, or do you wait the time to get Nate Danielson, who you've scouted out, you picked him, as you said, this is the best guy. And I will say this is something where I'm a little hesitant, and I trust currently. So based on Yzerman's track record right now, on the trades that he's done and the free agents he's gone through and the pro scouting, I'm looking at a guy like Dylan Couzens, and I'm looking at who Yzerman's people, not just Yzerman, but just his people have brought in. The cop, not worth the contract, right? What he's done, right? Too long for too much. Comfer, too long. He's been okay. This year's down, but overall, I'd say it's probably below average, slightly below average. You're not getting what you want out of him. Justin Hall, not getting what you want out of him. Jeff Petrie, not a great trade. You trade out Jake Wallman, not very smart. You bring in Tarasenko, not working out that well. Kane worked out last year, not working out this year. I'm seeing the track record of free agents and some trades that are not really working out. The other trades that he has brought in, I don't really, there's no one really like great. There's some like down the depths, like there's some amateur scouting that's done really well. Treating like Andrew Gibson, right? Like, is that going to work out well? Yes, he seems to be working out well. But you're looking at a record of pro scouting. I don't trust it very much in the slightest at all. So when I'm looking at trading for Dylan Couzens, I'm like, is he worth it? Let me work it. Sorry, that's Missy Elliott. But to me, I'm not trusting the pro scouting. So what I'm trusting is the amateur scouting. You guys chose Danielson as 9th overall in 2023. I'm trusting that you like that pick and it's going to work out. Yzerman has talked everything about building to the draft, and to me, trading a guy like Nate Danielson or Marco Kasper right now is too soon because I trust your drafting. I trust your first round drafting, I'd say. And so when it comes, like I said, I'm not willing to trade for Dylan Couzens right now. I just don't. I need to see more from Dylan Couzens, and it may be an issue with culture right now with Dylan Couzens. Let's say they fire their coach or they do something different. They make a big trade, and then suddenly Dylan Couzens on a point per game pace. Great, awesome. Let's start talking about it again. But to me right now, Dylan Couzens is not worth it to start trading. I will say there's a couple of guys that I would be willing to trade for that are also in talks that Detroit should be looking at. Right, there is a talk of where are they at? I mean, Peyton Krebs could be. He's always on the block. He's 23 years old. He's a former late round or late. I think it was like 17th overall for Vegas. And so he's an option as well. Owen Power is also being talked about as being on the trade block, or people are calling on Owen Power. I think the price would be way too much for Owen Power. I would love to get him. Again, I don't think they're willing to trade him. But there is one that I think is going to be really good, and I do want to propose a trade proposal. I did make one. I went on Puckpedia. I just keep talking about Puckpedia because I'm a big fan of them, and I'm going to share my trade because I think this is a trade that would make sense for both teams. Again, I'm not about just trying to make a trade for the Red Wings. I mean, if that's the case, trade for Connor McDavid, trade for Leon Draisaitl. To me, I want a trade that's going to work out for both teams. To me, this works out for both teams for sure. And I made this trade, like I said, on here. So it is. Let me scroll in. And Buffalo fans, let me know what your thoughts are on this, because I think this makes a ton of sense for both the Red Wings and the Buffalo Sabres. And we're looking at a Bowen Byram to Detroit, straight up. Mind you, this is Bowen Byram is good. He's on last year's contract, making $3.9 million. A left side defenseman. And so with Bowen Byram, Red Wings are going to get a guy who's going to, he's going to play very, very well. I think, let me pull up his stats right now. 20 points in 37 games. Very good. Very nice for a, he's a left side. He's a right, or he's playing right. Oh, he can play right. Nice. He's playing right, I guess. I don't know why he's playing right. He's a left-handed defenseman. But either way, he's playing top line defense with the Buffalo Sabres. So that is an option for the Red Wings who need help on the left side. And their left side is basically Edmondson, Sherratt, and like Gustafsson or Albert Johansson. So to me, your Red Wings fans will want to move off of Ben Sherratt's contract. If you're going to move a defenseman, you'd like to move off Petrie, but he's got a full no move clause, and his contract ends this year, so you can't really do anything with that. So Justin Hall, I don't think he's not worth anything, I'd say. So I think that they wouldn't also want to move him. So to me, what Buffalo needs is, they don't need an offensive defenseman. They need a defensive defenseman. And this is more the long play for them. I think what's going back to Buffalo is Ben Sherratt, a good left side defenseman, veteran presence. And he's not a huge point producer, but he is definitely a tougher guy, putting up 6 points, 35 games, but he's playing top pair right now, top pair to second pair, because he is a tougher guy. He's 6'3", 234 pounds. He's a good like shaker up of he's going to get some penalties, but not a ton, because you want that veteran presence of a guy who is an assistant captain on the team. They're rotating the A right now, but he's a guy that can really shake up your lineup and to bring that veteran leadership. He'd be only the second guy on Buffalo Sabres who is over 30 years old, and he's 33 years old. And then you have him for, I believe you have him for, I think, this year and next year. Yeah, you have for this year, next year. So you got a guy that can play on your left side. Cap's going up, so not to worry about the cap hit, right? And then you also send over with Buffalo, because you got to move roster players, right? So you're swapping the roster players right there. Bowen Byram has a higher ceiling than Ben Sherratt for sure. So you sub in Emil Vero, who is a defensive defenseman with the Grand Rapids Griffins, which Red Wings I think would actually rather keep, I believe. But mind you, he's like a left side shoots D, 22 years old, 3rd round pick from 2020. Great defensive defenseman. He's going to need a new contract, so why don't you bring him in so that you have Ben Sherratt, you sign him in, you bring him in as your 7th defenseman, right? And you rotate him on the left side and help mature him in the system on the roster as your 7th defenseman. And then again, you're bringing him in and out. And Sherratt's again that stabilizer on your left side. Emil Vero can again play that left side. You kind of bring him in as the Red Wings are bringing in Albert Johansson, bring him in, kind of get him acclimated to the NHL game. He's getting used to it and everything. If you don't have to throw him right in, then once Ben Sherratt's contract expires, Emil Vero, boom, you're now fully in the lineup. And again, you also throw a 3rd round pick in there. The Rangers 2025 third round pick. I think that makes a ton of sense. I'd be willing. I mean, maybe you upgrade it to a 2nd, but to me, because you're getting Emil Vero, and if you take away Emil Vero, then you upgrade it to a 2nd round pick. You're not getting a first round pick for Bowen Byram, in my opinion. I'm not willing to give it. But to me, I think this makes it a fair trade for both parties. So let me know what your thoughts are on that, because I think that just makes a ton of sense. I just don't see why. So I don't know why both teams wouldn't do that, because it just makes sense. Mind you, also, Ben Sherratt, I believe, has a no move clause for 8 teams. So he would have, if that includes Buffalo, which it shouldn't, because it should include the 7 teams in the Canada and maybe another one. So I would say that would be a good trade there. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. I think that'd be win-win for everybody. So that is that one, and then we're gonna hit up the rest of Axel Sandin-Pellikka is doing phenomenal. He was leading the World Junior. I forgot to pull this up. World Junior stats standings. So talking about the 2025 right now. So right now it is currently Axel Sandin-Pellikka is tied for first with 7 points in 3 games with Dalvar Dvorsky, Hedrick, and Stelank, but Axel Sandin-Pellikka has he's a defenseman. He's tied with the lead in points in the World Juniors as a defenseman. He had a hat trick in his first game. Again, 7 points in 3 games. This kid's a monster. He's the new Erik Karlsson. I can't wait to get his jersey. I'm so excited. Erik Karlsson is my favorite player outside of the Red Wings. And I can't wait for this guy because he's another Swedish offensive defenseman. And he is tiny. He is so small on the Red Wings. He is crazy small. And I just can't wait for him to come into the system. He's not coming in. I don't think he's going to come over next year, but a lot of people believe he's going to be. And he's already signed. So he's already has a contract and everything. So he can come over whenever. 19 years old. I just don't know if he comes over yet. But I'm so excited if he does, because that'd be sick. So that is very exciting for Red Wings to be super excited about him again. And then Jesse Kiskinen, I believe, is also, if we look for him, I don't know if he's on the top. So, but yes, Jesse Kiskinen's got 2 points in 3 games with the Finland team, and so he's 43rd in scoring. So that is definitely something. I believe Max Plant as well, but I don't think he's got. Max Plant also has 2 points in 2 games. He's 48th. So those are also Felix. Who's Felix Nielsen? Felix Nielsen's not a Red Wings prospect. I think he's he's Nashville. That's what it is. But so Red Wings prospects are doing okay. The future is all right. We're not too worried about this right now. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited about the up and coming prospects and everything. So we're also going. The last thing is Kane got his 1,299th point and his 1,300th point with the Red Wings this past game with Washington. Congratulations on Patty Kane, 1,300 points. It's phenomenal. Love to see that from him. So good for him, and very, very, very proud of Patrick Kane finally getting some production. I mean, he actually, by the way, in the game against Washington, we actually saw him back check twice, which is crazy. Like Patrick Kane actually like trying defensively. Love to see it. He's been an all forward guy. So again, I'm happy to see him working as hard as he can on the defensive side. So we'll jump into our last break, and then we will go into some NHL news. So stay tuned, and let's do this huge overlay. Let's go. Game time. All right, going game time. So, all right. I mean, there's just nothing like watching hockey live. You go, right? It is getting your fresh skates sharpened. I mean, if you can't skate, I'm telling you, you got to try it. And it's not about just going to the rink. It's about going to see the teams that you love. And the reason you're listening to this is because you love hockey. So make sure if you're going to get tickets to a game, you use Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So if you look at what's coming up tonight, the Red Wings playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you want to, you can still get tickets through Game Time to pick them. If not, they have plenty of games that are coming up. You also have, let's actually just pull up real quick. So they have the Penguins. That's all I have right now. The Penguins are coming up, as well as Nashville, New York. I'm going to a couple more, pulling these up. You have Columbus, Winnipeg coming up, Ottawa, Chicago. January 10th is Chicago. I mean, that's definitely something you can do. So make sure you can see how you can. Make sure you click on the super part of the deal to show you how good it is. Again, there's a couple of good parts about using Game Time Picks. Is there's curated deals that make it easier to find best seats and great seats. There's also the view. You can see the view of the seats before you buy them, which I think is huge. They're the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. I mean, there's just a ton of great things about Game Time, so make sure you're using it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. And then lastly, we're moving to the NHL news. We have quite a few things that are happening. So we have a trade, actually. So the Colorado Avalanche ended up trading. Let me pull it up real quick. Where you at, buddy? There we go. Okay. So we have Ondrej Pavel. Ondrej Pavel, and a 3rd round pick going to the Nashville Predators for Juuso Parssinen and a 7th round pick. So what is happening? So mind you, the Predators are trying to get, they're doing a kind of a retool type thing, right? So who are they getting? And Ondrej Pavel, he's been playing the AHL this year. Only got a couple of games in the show with the Colorado Avalanche. Only played 2 games. In the AHL this year, he's got 2 points in 14 games with the Colorado Eagles. So really not. More of like more of an AHL move. He might work into something. This is last year's contract, but I'm sure they'll try him out and see if it works. Again, getting the Nashville Predators getting that 3rd round pick in 2027. More of a trade piece. They're not going to use it this year. But again, that'll be a good tool to trade with to be able to get some other players. They trade out Juuso Parssinen to the Avalanche, a 6'3", 212-year-old center, playing third, 4th line center, playing more 4th line center. And I guess looks more he's playing right wing as well this year. Currently has 15 games played, 5 points. Just some depth shoring up for the Colorado Avalanche, which I like. And really the cap hits are relatively similar. Again, the Avs are getting the 7th round pick in that, which the Nashville Predators got in a trade with the New York Rangers when the Rangers moved up in the draft. So they wanted the 100. New York Rangers wanted got the 119th overall pick, and then Nashville got 127th plus the 7th round pick in 2026. So works out. Again, this is a nice little trade, nice little shore up of the defense or of the depth. And again, these are good trades to get in the short term, I guess you'd say. Again, let's say Juuso Parssinen doesn't work out, right? He's got this year, but also both players, Pavel and Parssinen, are both RFAs right now, which is huge. So teams both have control of their guys. And so with that, you can decide if you like the guy, great, resign. If you don't, move him out, right? Because you still have time for the trade deadline too, which is until March 31st, I believe. So you have a lot of time to be able to see if these guys work out. If they don't, trade them out, get another guy, right? Which is huge, is why you're seeing this trade now. So speaking of the Colorado Avalanche, they actually had a big signing. They traded for a guy. I don't know if you might have heard him. Mackenzie Blackwood played with the New Jersey Devils, he got traded to the San Jose Sharks, actually, and a big deal. And then San Jose ends up, so San Jose picks him up for a 6th round pick. Easy. He signs a 2-year deal there. Then this early December, Avs trade for Mackenzie Blackwood, Giovanni Smith, and a 5th round pick. And then San Jose Sharks take back Alexander Georgiev's contract, Nikolai Kolovenko, a 2nd round pick, and a 5th round pick. So, now Sharks get to take, work with Georgiev. Hopefully they can take him and flip him for another pick if they can get him to start performing a little better. And then the Avs get their goalie of the future. Mind you, he was at the time of the trade, he was 4 games in, and this is when they signed his contract. And so, which was a 5-year, $5.25 million per year contract. So a $26.25 million contract overall. He signed until 2030. So it's a great long contract. So Blackwood has finally found a home, and he will be here for a long time. And hopefully Avs have found their goalie of their, because they've traded for him, Blackwood, as well as Wedgwood from the Nashville Predators. Second trade with the Nashville Predators. Look at that. In the 5 games that he's played, Blackwood has played with the Avalanche. He's got 1.82 goals against average, which is phenomenal to be under 2. It is one of the best. That's a phenomenal goals against average, and with a save percentage of .940. That's huge. You could see he was already playing well with the Sharks. He's playing even better under a better system with the Colorado Avalanche. So a little early to sign him that early of a contract. I think Joey Decor kind of set that precedent. But the 6'4" goalie is not minding that. He's getting paid. He's getting some generational money. So good for him. There's also, moving on to the next piece of information, we have Jonathan Taves did a GQ interview talking about how he's trying to get back into the NHL, right? And this is a guy that he's, like if we look up his contract, let's look up him right now. What he last played with. So he's currently UFA, has been a UFA since he was 35. Hasn't played since, I think it was a year or 2 ago. It was 2023 was the last year that he played. Put up 31 points, 53 games. Not great. His I mean, his best season was 18-19, or one of his best seasons was 18-19 with 81 points in 82 games. But it's been a slow decline from there. Mind you, he missed the whole 2020-2021 season with long-term COVID issues, right? And again, we saw him come back and produces about a half point per game player for the next 2 seasons after that. So I think he's working really hard to come back. But who do you think is going to try and sign this 36-year-old who wants to try and get back and who wasn't playing that well in the first place? He might just take a league min type thing, come in, and I don't know where he would play, but I mean, it may be interesting to see him come. You'd love to see it, but again, you don't want. It's almost like you don't want to see a former Chicago Blackhawk come out retirement and just suck either, right? That'd be the unfortunate thing. So especially being 2 years out from playing, well, I guess it will be a full year without playing. 2 years, right? Because he hasn't played since 22-23. So it'd be 23-24 and 24-25. So if he does come back, great, awesome. I hope he does well. But again, I'd say it's highly doubtful at this point. But good for him for trying and everything. So another piece of news with the Dallas Stars were actually fined $100,000. Imagine that. That's some people's annual salary. That's sometimes double some people's annual salary, which is crazy. $100,000 for practicing on December 26th. They actually broke Article 16.5B, which requires them to be off the days of the 24th, December 24th, 25th, and 26th. And quote, the rule says no club may request so there was a optional practice if they wanted to practice. They said, but the rule says no club may request a player's consent to practice on such days for any reason. So quick, cool $100,000 gone. No big deal. Just a quick 100,000. Let me just pull that out of my wallet. Yeah, right. But again, that's a great little pickup for the NHL, which goes to their player assistance program, I believe, as well, which is huge. So, before we hit the WHL trade, I want to knock out these couple pieces of news. Jesse Puljujarvi was put on waivers by the Pens. I believe he cleared as well. So that is Jesse Puljujarvi just it's not working out, man. That's the bummer, is that you want to see these guys who are drafted high. You want to see him perform. You want to see him produce. But again, it's just a bummer that he was put on waivers and everything. And I haven't seen him being placed anywhere. So we will see if he ends up getting back. He's got 8 points in 21 games. So he's not playing terrible, but he's not playing like he was a 4th overall draft pick by the Edmonton Oilers. So it's just a bummer. It's frustrating because you want to see this guy produce and perform. It's just not working out, unfortunately. So hopefully I wish nothing but the best for Puljujarvi, and hopefully he can get his stuff together and get a solidified place on the roster. Sidney Crosby passes Mario Lemieux for the most assists in Penn's history with 1,034 assists. I mean, again, it's Crosby. I mean, he's gonna fall into the minimum top 7 of all players ever to play. There's arguable that he is the best person of the last generation. Still put up 40 points in 38 games as a 37-year-old. I mean, anyone would trade for him today. Everyone would take Crosby on their team today. Absolutely. Anyone that puts up over a point per game, you'd absolutely take him. So good for Crosby, putting up some numbers, man. That's good for you. Also, speaking of a generational talent, talking about Ovechkin, he's got 870 goals that he's put up, 25 goals to surpass Gretzky. So we'll be watching that. Do you think Ovechkin passes Gretzky this year? I believe it is so. He's got only 25 goals. I mean, that's a doable pace. He's got 40 games to put 25 goals in. I mean, with how well the Caps are doing, I can absolutely see it happening. I mean, that's 8.5 hat tricks away, right? Doable, right? Let's say he gets 1 or 2. That's 6 goals right there. Right? And at that point he has to put up a goal every other game. That's very doable for the Washington Capitals and Ovechkin. So we will see if that happens. So that is a full video today. It's good to be back. Thanks for hanging out with me and everything. I appreciate you. I love you. Anyways, let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. You are precious. I love you. Give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a kiss on the cheek from me, Brad, and I will catch you in the next one. Love you. Bye. Happy New Year, by the way, as well. See ya.